It is the week of the season opener, the home opener. We'll give you the top storylines heading into the Hornets regular season and some tidbits about renovations. The height scandal? What's going on with the Hornets players' heights? Can we get this right already? We'll get to all of it today. Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your podcast. That includes YouTube. There's Doug Branson. You can find him on his Substack, everyhornetsboxscore.com. A new season launching as the Hornets' new season is launching. Also, find Doug producing Yahoo Sports Daily with Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton. I'm Walker Mail. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Sports Radio 92.7 WFNZ. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets. That's nice. You can use that across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. So lots of stuff to get to. It's opening week, man. Here we are. Wednesday.
Yes.
The Hornets will play their first regular season game. And I think your sentiment, yes, let's go. It's very serious. Yes, let's go. Maybe more so than in years past, because it is nice to get to the regular season, but I don't know if we've felt this good going into other regular seasons, not in recent memory, right? It looks like they're going to be fun. They've won on the margins. They've hit all these doubles and singles as we've characterized it. As we've characterized the Jeff Peterson offseason. So perhaps this is a good reminder for people getting into this year, what the main storylines are. So let's start it off here. Doug, what are the main storylines going into this year?
I think the most important storyline of all the storylines is just that the Hornets seem to be taking this season more seriously than they have seasons past. And I mean that like on a player level, it seems like everyone has a different focus for this season. It's less about like, well, we'll see what happens. You know, we're just getting back from injury, da-da-da-da-da. No, everyone's kind of locked in on really getting focused on the defensive end, but also playing faster. And then just from an organizational level, in terms of adding depth around LaMelo Ball, in terms of adding savvy older rookies who can contribute immediately. It just seems like while this team may not have playoff expectations attached to it automatically as we enter game one, they are a more serious team than they have been, for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it seems like that. The second year for LaMelo, maybe, so maybe not quite that, because it felt like they were going after Gordon Hayward to help with LaMelo immediately. Yeah. Terry Rozier was good. They were above 500. That counts for something. That was in a strong Eastern Conference at that time, where 4 games above 500 only got you a play-in spot, and we know what happens when they get to the play-in tournament. So I'm with you. There is a level of seriousness that this team seems to be bringing compared to the last couple of years. I'll focus on LaMelo and Brandon. It's all about the leap. I wrote down 5 offseason storylines that I think are the most important. The first one I wrote down kind of just thinking about it from the top of the dome, but I think this is it. I like this list. Melo efficiency leap, Brandon overall leap. So if those two guys are going to be your dynamic duo, if that's the duo you're really going to lean in on and say, this is who we are, everything else, it matters, but the talent around those guys, it has to be good enough to supplement their natural ability. But now LaMelo has guys to pass to, and you don't have to shoulder the load all yourself. Same thing with Brandon Miller. It's when you do have to shoulder the load because you are still the best 2 players on this basketball team. Can you do it when defenses throw their most physical defender at you and try to take you out of the ball game? How many answers do you have for the opposition? And it doesn't even just mean creating your own shot in the half court. It's making the right decision off of that, with the passing ability of LaMelo not needing to feel like he has to be the guy, and Brandon Miller just becoming a better overall basketball player by making the right pass, putting the ball on the deck and not turning it over. I think it's the overall improvement of those guys and really the efficiency leap. Can we get somewhere close or even beyond what LaMelo gave us his second year in the league, where, man, those were awesome numbers, and that's the last time you had adequate talent around you. Brandon Miller just looking like an all-star that he was drafted to be, the second overall pick. It all starts there. What can LaMelo bring for you? What can Brandon Miller bring for you? It starts there, Doug.
Yeah, can the Hornets put enough winning around LaMelo Ball to get him an all-star bid? I mean, I think that's going to be an important season storyline. In terms of LaMelo and Brandon both in the offseason, I thought a big storyline was both of them putting a little bit more weight on. And you mentioned, the physical nature of how people were defending them. I think that was a huge offseason storyline. And then just putting more around them and shooting talent. I mean, I think they've done a much better job in this preseason than they did all season long last year, shooting the three-pointer, particularly. I mean, Miles Bridges, but we'll get to that when we talk about this last preseason game against the Knicks. I mean, Miles is completely locked in a much different way than he was last season when all the talk was like he's got his hops back, he can dunk again, and it's like, well, maybe he doesn't need to dunk. I mean, if he's going to hit like 6 or 7 threes a game, then you don't need to dunk. So I think like for LaMelo, what's going to be super important, particularly early in the season, is that trust level that he has with the rest of this team, that he doesn't feel like he's got to put the team on his back and play superhero all the time, which I think he felt rightfully so at the beginning of last season, as you saw Brandon start the year. He started with an injury, but then when he came back, before he left for the season with the wrist injury, when he came back, he was in a little bit of a slump that he had started to work himself out of when the scaphounate thing hit. So LaMelo took a lot on him. Miles didn't get off to a particularly great start either. So everyone, again, I just think took this offseason as much as they could seriously, depending on their injury status. But everyone just seems more prepared and locked in a way that I just don't recall since you mentioned it. I mean, the 43 win season.
It all speaks to the seriousness, which is a good umbrella to speak under with all of this stuff. You mentioned the depth. I had that. If I had the 5 storylines, first one is Melo efficiency leap, Brandon overall leap. Fourth is the depth for real? And that was fourth, but we've already touched on that a little bit. Doug, I'll give you one more before we go to break. The way we feel about this offseason, it all started with one move in particular, and it started when they traded for Collin Sexton. And Jeff Peterson this year, he drafts Con Knippel, and then he trades Mark Williams. And the first move he makes outside of draft day decisions is trading Yusuf Nurkic to Utah for Collin Sexton, and you also get the pick attached to it, which is just, it's wild that still happened. But now what you're seeing with Collin Sexton is everyone talking about him being a culture changer. There are stories being written about him by Rod Boone. He is the topic. He is the point of emphasis in some of these national basketball podcasts when you look at the Hornets, because it's a big move that they made. And he brings something that LaMelo doesn't necessarily have for you. At least he hasn't shown yet. He brings a different element of basketball that you have not had in quite some time. And speaking of seriousness, here we go. That seems to be the word of the podcast, but all of that stuff. So that's the other one, is the Collin Sexton edition here. What's his impact? Because, I mean, I think you could argue he's already provided a monster impact just based off of practice stories.
Yeah, I think even more than seriousness, you could take it a step further and say aggressiveness, competitiveness. That is, and they love to say competitive joy, which I now, he's attached that so much to Collin Sexton that I'm now thinking that competitive joy just means being a bleep hole. And that's what I have been screaming. That is what the Hornets have needed for many, many years, is just to get a couple more bleep holes on this team who annoy their own teammates a little bit, but more importantly, they annoy the opposition with how competitive they are. And that's what we saw not only from Collin Sexton, but we'll go to another offseason storyline, which was the Hornets won a championship, a summer league championship. They won hardware, and so much of that was because Con Knippel was seriously competitive. I mean, think about, he had the headband, the bandage, he was head wound Harry there for the final game, but he played whatever he could in the summer league apart from some injuries. And he's just bringing a different level. Collin's bringing a different level. I think Miles Bridges has brought a different level of competitiveness and veteran leadership. And I just think they've injected this team. And also, I will say, I think the move to trade Mark Williams was obvious because they had already tried to trade him.
There's that. Yeah.
Right. So, you had to do something because he was not really a fan of the team after that. But I thought even the instinct to trade him the first time to Los Angeles was right in that you needed to move out the players that were not about the Charles Lee competitive joy and bring in the players. And so I thought we saw step 2 of that process with Collin Sexton and also, even some of the veterans that they brought in that we haven't seen much, like Pat Connaughton, but I'm sure they're contributing in their own ways too. But just all of these players that are just upping the aggression level, that's going to pay dividends for the Hornets this season.
Okay, we have a couple more storylines to get to coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
We'll round out the 5 that I have, and then we'll get to some final preseason game thoughts against the Knicks. A lot to chew on with that Knicks game. That's all still to come. LOH. This episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. It's their most advanced equipment yet, designed to give you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or cross-training with your favorite instructors. This is training reimagined. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with tools that help you plan, stay motivated, and reach peak performance. I love how the Peloton IQ system offers real-time strength coaching, and it actually tracks your reps, suggests the right weights, and corrects your form, making every rep safer and smarter. The swivel screen, it's a game changer. You can go from running on the Tread Plus to strength training without missing a beat, and the personalized class recommendations keep you engaged. You get workouts tailored to your vibe and the energy level that you have every single week. So let yourself run, lift, flex, and push forward. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus today at onepeloton.com. That's ONE, onepeloton.com. This episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Let's be honest, most of us can't name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why you could use Monarch Money, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. It could help you organize your accounts, track your spending, and get a better handle on your investments without having to touch a spreadsheet. And you might love that you can review everything with your partner, see your shared goals together, make better financial decisions together. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. More Locked On Hornets ahead. LaMelo and Brandon Miller leaps. That's one story I have. The next one, Collin Sexton impact. We've already talked about the depth. The 2 other ones I have written down here, Doug. I do have center rotation because that was such a talking point, both for the offseason and just where we are now, right? Like it's still that,
which
that
is
has not,
like,
it's not gone away at all, right? It has not. Charles Lee talked with media, I think, during one of the practices. I think actually the practice today. He said, "Look, we got 3 starting spots already locked up. We all know what that is. It's LaMelo Ball is going to start. Same thing with Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges. Bang, bang, bang. Cake, easy. Now we have to figure out who the starting shooting guard is. Collin Sexton, I think, is the leader in the clubhouse, but there's an argument to bring him off of the bench and just let him wreck shop against second units. I could see that if you wanted to. Or you could start him, either one. You also have Moussa Diabaté. You have Ryan Kalkbrenner. Mason Plumlee, he was in the running for a while. I don't even think he's in the running to start now because of the way that Kalkbrenner played at the end of preseason and the way Moussa played the entire preseason, except there are limitations. in what Charles Lee wants to do with his center that Kalkbrenner doesn't have because he is gigantic. He's just not nearly as mobile. So the center rotation, that starting spot, that conversation, it's not gone away really since the first day of free agency, Doug, when we saw all of these centers go off the board. It reminds me a little bit of the NFL. If you football heads know out there, linebacker just was not available, right? Like center just wasn't available. Day'Ron Sharp was going for, X amount of money. Same thing with Luke Cornett. They're all off the board in the first 5-6 hours of free agency. And if you didn't get one, then you were left without a chair. The Hornets got one. It's just one that they've already had before, and nobody was a fan of it. Like nobody was a fan of bringing back Mason unless he was going to play this Taj Gibson role. But that wasn't sure. Now it looks like he might play the Taj Gibson role, and the conversation really comes down to who starts between Moussa and Kalkbrenner. The center rotation question, man, even when we find out who starts on Wednesday against the Nets, it doesn't even answer the question fully, because this could be something that is still a revolving door as the season goes on, Doug. Like, it's going to be a season-long question.
Yeah, well, I think the center position will be one where he plays with it a lot, depending on the matchups. With the shooting guard, I think it will be malleable, but I think who we see start game one is probably who we'll see start for a little while, unless something doesn't work and then they move. That's my thought on it. I think he knows who he's going to. I agree with you. Yeah. I think he knows who he's going to play at 2. I think 5 is just going to be like, for Kalk, because so if you're just tuning in, which, some people do, we're week of the season, you plug into the daily podcast. Kalkbrenner is young, but he's also an older rookie who I think has shown good instincts, particularly for blocking shots, help defense, like a lot of those fundamentals, but he's slower. He cannot really guard at the 3. He can't switch. And so, you're going to want to play him against some bigger lineups with bigs that don't shoot particularly well. And then with Moussa, you're going to get, he just honey badger like energy on the defensive end of the floor and strips galore. But if they do put a bigger lineup out there, he can get punished inside, and it might give you a rebounding disadvantage. Also, I think Kalkbrenner, too, offensively is a little bit cleaner on the pick and roll, operating around the basket. Particularly, he's gotten way better at that, Kalkbrenner has, as he's adjusted over the course of this preseason. I thought in the final couple of games, he just looked really good near the basket offensively, and then has some upside to shoot, which Moussa has 0. Yeah. So, yeah, I just think they're going to play with that a little bit. But so that's why, I think the team is more serious, just like emotionally, but the roster isn't serious. Like, it's not a serious playoff roster, because you don't go into a season thinking we're going to make the playoffs, no doubt about it. And if we don't, we're disappointed with that center rotation, But I get why they don't want to box themselves in financially by going out in free agency and paying Day'Ron Sharp or whoever a bunch of money. Like, I totally understand the thought process, but at the same time, that's not a serious center rotation.
Well, speaking of Day'Ron Sharp, what's funny is that those guys, it's not like they were getting a ton of money. It's just that you were really worried about what you were going to have left over in a market where there just wasn't a lot of centers or in a market where you didn't want to spend a lot because you're saving your money for next year, right? So all that is true. Now, yeah, I will say with the center stuff, we went from, oh God, we have lots of questions about the center rotation to where now I'm saying that in a different tone just because, I love Moussa. But Kalkbrenner, man, hey, shouts to him for improving over the last couple of games. Now it's like, yeah, we got some center questions. It's very different the way I'm framing that question. Last thing here, just something quick, capitalizing on competence. And this can go into some of the renovations that they've had over at the Spectrum Center, just the new feel, the Summer League title. Can you capitalize via the wins-loss record? Can you capitalize on a lot of the things that you're doing around the organization? And it all comes with looking like a competitive franchise, improving pretty dramatically I'd want to temper expectations. I'm not telling you that this is an outright playoff team, but what I am saying is it's okay to go from 19 to over 30 wins. Like, I know that's a dramatic win increase, but also if we consider the context of all the injuries and the G League guys from last year, it's typically it's usually not great to ask for, can I get 15 wins or you fail, 15 more wins or you fail, but like, it's okay to go from 19 to over 30. Capitalize on the competence that you've shown so far, and if you do, then we'll see the fruits of all the good feelings that we've had leading up to this year.
Yeah, I think, the professionalism of the players in terms of like showing up for events and staying out of headlines that are bad that are distractions for the season. I think there has been a professionalism boost, and I think that's a credit to the players, obviously, because, they're the ones living their lives, but it's also a credit to who they're bringing in, drafting Tijan, drafting Con Knippel, drafting all the players that they've drafted so far, and, haven't been giant distractions to the franchise. But also, I think there's been some pressure from the front office to the players saying, hey, show up for these events. Let's, we need to be professional at all times. And when you have a young team, that is important. If you're not going to add the talent, veteran leadership, then you've got to put a little pressure on from the front office and from the coaching staff, and I think they've done that. And overall, I think the respect, they're starting to rebuild. It's a start. It's not fully rebuilt, but they're starting to rebuild the reputation of this franchise that it absolutely cratered under Michael Jordan. And they're still pooping all over the center rotation, and there's a lot of questions about LaMelo Ball, a lot of criticisms about him that he has to answer this season. But you're not hearing some of the same existential, this team is going nowhere, and it's because it's rotten to the core, from the top down, stuff that we heard from national podcast and national media that was plugged in that knew why that was the case and just couldn't say it outright. And you're not hearing that same stuff anymore. And so I think they're starting slowly to rebuild that reputation. But you got to win. You got to win.
Have to win. I created a couple of Hornets memes regarding the strays that they would catch from all of these national podcasts where the Hornets just weren't the topic of conversation, and they would be used as the, oh my God, could you imagine if you were them example? Like, they were always the worst example. And then I would put up the meme saying, it's been 0 days since our last Hornet stray. I have not had to post that in a while. It's been quite nice. When the people talk about the Hornets, it's, hey, there could be something down there in the Queen City worth paying attention to. Okay, let's move on. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
We'll give you the final preseason thoughts, and then, us, man. We'll go rapid fire, and we'll stick with it. Renovations, the height issues that seem to be surrounding this franchise. We'll get through all of it coming up next. LOH. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season, we're almost at the midpoint, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. There are plenty of ways to use FanDuel. You can build parlays. You can try player props. That's kind of my soup du jour, if you will. And you can even follow the live lines during the games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action, whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats. FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. This episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game time? Basketball season. It's almost here. It's almost officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. And between waiting in queues, surprise fees, prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. You could use Game Time to grab seats for your favorite basketball team, like the Charlotte Hornets here in the Queen City. Hello. They have zone deals. They're a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big, and you can even find NBA tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Okay, final preseason thoughts. We didn't have a chance to talk to the people about this final preseason game against the Knicks. The Hornets, they do fall below 500 on the preseason. They lose their last one, 113 to 108. I know that would have been a nice nugget going into the season, but got some great performances. The shot making from Miles Bridges was just stellar all preseason long. He was 4 of 8 from distance in this one. He had 20 points, so he almost led all scorers. Collin Sexton actually led all Hornets scores, that is, with 21. But Miles in 18 minutes, 20, that'll play. Miles, 8 of 13 from the field, too. So Miles, I think if you just look at the efficiency from what Miles gave you, the crazy three-point shooting, really all preseason long, yeah, man, Miles, a big-time storyline.
Yeah, man, I really hope it's not just like a preseason fluke. Like, I really hope he can take it in, because when he's hitting threes, it's a game changer. And it was a game changer but before he was due for, his big contract that he never got. I mean, that was, that outlier season for him, 3-point shooting wise, was a significant difference maker for this team offensively. And they are going to need to be really good offensively, because they're not going to be very good defensively. By the end of the year, maybe if they make some moves at the deadline to figure the center position out, they could be, I think, average defensively. And if you've got, a top 10 offense and an average to slightly below average defense, then I think you've got a shot to hang around a play-in game. You got a shot to be there, and then you got a shot to actually hang around. But you can't have the worst defense and a top 10 offense. Then you're going to end up where that 43-win Hornets team ended up, which is getting shellacked. I can't even remember. That was the Hawks. There was a Pacers one and there was a Hawks one. I think that was the Hawks one. So, I think that Miles Bridges, his offense unlocks so much for the Hornets, particularly in transition, where they've been wanting to play a lot faster. And they have been, and they just haven't been able to execute in the preseason, particularly early. I thought they got a little bit better as the preseason went along. But just his 3-point shooting in the break, because Collin Sexton and LaMelo Ball both like to kind of get out in front, and they're going to drag that transition defense along with them. And there will be players like Miles and Con Knipple, who are going to be wide open. Con in the corner, Miles above the break. They're going to be open for 3, and if they can hit them, then the Hornets are going to have a much better opportunity to win basketball games. It's been exciting to see.
You said you hope it's not a fluke for Miles. I think that's always the worry when you're talking about shot making being such a distinguishing factor in how somebody plays. Oh, he played well, he hit shots, or, what else did he do? I think, because I'm with you. I hope it's not a fluke either. I think it's a fair question. I think what I'm comfortable with, or what I'm encouraged by, is that Miles is going to be playing a different role with talent helping him a lot too. We focus so much on LaMelo. We focus so much on Brandon because that's your two-headed monster. Those are your best players on the team. How much have we talked about Miles playing out of position? Because one, he's just been healthier than everybody. So he's been playing a lot with those G Leaguers that we've talked about with LaMelo too. And also they've had to rely on him to be the scorer. And I just don't think he can do that consistently. He can give it to you in stretches. He did so last year. But remember when he went on that monster 5, maybe 7 game stretch where he was going nuclear. And then, he fell hard. Like, he wasn't hitting anything in the last, 10, 15 games of the season, something like that. Well, with all this talent, that's going to help him too. Like, Collin Sexton had 10 assists. Miles didn't have any assists. even if I think he's actually has really grown into a pretty nice passer, but it's Miles getting the basketball in advantageous scoring positions. So take advantage of it, buddy. If they're advantageous, take advantage of it. I don't know if anybody has set him up like that since LaMelo, when LaMelo hits the pine, right? There's nobody else. LaMelo's gone. Miles, you got to create for yourself, buddy. Good luck. Now that's not necessarily the case. That's nice to see, which is why, again, I'm encouraged that this isn't just a fluke. Final thoughts on the last preseason game? Any other thing of note?
Well, just one more thing on Miles. Last season, he tried to be ISO guy. And again, I don't really fault him necessarily for that.
Kind of had
because, exactly. So he tried to be ISO guy. It didn't work. Being this guy that he's been in the preseason, that's going to be the ticket. And that requires a lot of players to be healthy and for him to stay disciplined and not take those step back 3-point shots that just have zero chance. Although he hit some contested jumpers, including in this one against New York. He can hit them with defense on them, but it's if he's one dribble pull up or no dribble pull up, that's the Miles Bridges that was successful in this preseason, not the ISO guy. It's a question though that as a franchise they're going to have to answer eventually, is who is that ISO guy? Is it Brandon? Or do you have to completely turn yourself into the Indiana Pacers, who really didn't have that other than maybe Mathurin, who was kind of, again, a sort of a second tier ISO guy. But most of these playoff teams that make deep runs, they've got ISO guys.
So any other thing from this one? It felt like Tijon Salon, I think that's the most he scored in this preseason. So 9 points for Tijon, only hit 1 of 5 from distance, but went 4 of 9 from the field. 10 rebounds for Tijon, only a couple turnovers, 3 assists. Played the most amount of minutes outside of Liam McNeely. So young guys getting some run. KJ Simpson got 21 minutes. Sion James got 15. Felt like, one, you were giving a lot of the guys breaks. LaMelo didn't play. Brandon Miller didn't play. And Miles is the only starter, bona fide starter that played any amount of minutes, and he only got 18. So it felt like Charles Lee was just trying to see what the young guys had.
Oh yeah, for sure. This wasn't a game about winning. This was just a lot of starters getting rest and seeing what you had. And boy, I mean, did he see what he had in Moussa Diabaté? I mean, he had a monster spike in this one, and then he locked up, I think it was McBride. He locked him up on defense, and then you had Charles Lee burst out onto the court. What was into Charles Lee, man? He was just going nuts this game, but he just bear hugs Moussa Diabaté. Again, that's the kind of thing when you're trying to rebuild the reputation of a franchise, to have that kind of relationship with your players. I don't think Moussa Diabaté is going to retire as a Charlotte Hornet. He will go somewhere else, and someone will ask him, hey, I'm thinking about going over to the Charlotte Hornets. What do you think? And he'll tell him about the time that Charles Lee bear hugged him in a preseason game against the Knicks because he locked somebody up, and that's what coach appreciates. And so that's the kind of sort of, it's going to take years for that to have some effect, but it will eventually have some effect. A couple other things, man. The ball, two things. One, the ball movement has been so excellent the past couple of games. That's so great to see. It's going to unlock so much for them offensively, particularly when LaMelo's not on the floor doing all of the LaMelo things. The fact that everybody has been committed this preseason to moving the basketball, that's been exciting. I wanted to go back to Tijon. For all of his struggles, he has gotten bigger, and he's not afraid to drive and put his shoulder into somebody. That is good. That is, he is using his physicality to get himself open. And so, if some of the technique stuff can come along with it, there's the light is still shining on Tijon. It's just, we're going to have to be patient.
Moussa can go somewhere else if he can escape my bear hug, Charles Lee style. If he can escape, then he's allowed to leave. But I don't think I'm gonna let him go. Look, what else? I mean, seriously, man, what else do you say? What else do you say? Did you, if you watched nothing but him and forgot about the basketball, and you only watched him for every single second that he was in, you would be highly entertained. It's crazy, and it impacts winning just straight up.
Yeah.
Straight up. So I don't know. I can't get enough of Moussa. All right. By the way, the other thing about Moussa, hitting his free throws quietly the last couple of games. Goodness gracious, if he hits his free throws, man, I can't tell you that I trust it, but he did hit them on pretty good volume the last couple of games. I'm trying to pull up the box score here. Against the Mavs, he didn't hit very many. He was 2 of 6. But then I'm looking here. I'm looking at the box score. Yeah, I think he only missed 1 against the Knicks. I think he hit him the second to last game or 2 games ago. Either way, Moussa hitting his free throws. All right, you want to move on? Renos, Heights. You want to rapid fire this?
You
just
saw
real
the
quickly?
renovations. I mean, I saw pictures. I thought the lighting looked better. I mean, Spectrum Center, particularly in the upper levels, was like a cavern. Like it was not inviting. It wasn't an inviting space, but I've seen this LED lighting that they put in, and it looks really nice. No,
that's a good takeaway. The lighting was a big deal. That was a selling point. Talking with some people over there, that's something they wanted to sell. Like, hey, it's a little dungeony in some areas. I don't think anybody would go to Spectrum Center and say this sucks, because it is. I guess it was one of the newer arenas. It's really more so the NFL that builds all these new arenas every single year, or these new stadiums. The NBA, it feels like they're a little bit behind on that. But even still, Spectrum Center going through some of the renovations, it made a big difference. I think it was noticeable. So just to hit some of the highlights, everything's pretty damn transformed. They have 1,400 new lower level seats they were added. So every seat is also changed out. So you have new seats at the Spectrum Center. All seats throughout the bowl have been replaced, offering improved comfort and sight lines for every fan. So they kept that in mind. There's a lot of family friendly stuff to do. The whole concourse, it's very, very new if you do the loop as soon as you walk in on that first level. Like there's bars everywhere. There's a couple of different corners that you can go hang out in. They flipped 50% of Spectrum Center's concession menus as well since last season. Nearly 40% of food and beverage locations are now equipped with frictionless technology to increase speed of service. They introduced a unique yet fan-friendly menu that has something for everyone who walks through the doors, even some healthy options. I wanted to hit this real quickly. What was cool about what they decided to do, the Hornets emphasized making this fan-friendly because they're very cognizant of where their money is coming from. Their money is coming from taxpayers that is in the tourism bucket, and they wanted to make sure that fans could benefit from it because they are the ones spending money on this, or people that come to the city where that money could be used elsewhere. The team wants them to be able to benefit from it. So it's the Steve Ballmer idea of nobody likes waiting in lines. They want to go watch the game. You don't want to have to pick and choose your spots. Okay, I don't know. It's 3 minutes left to go in the second. I want to beat the halftime crowd. Let me go now and miss some basketball so I can get back and not have to wait in lines. They were very cognizant of that, saying, well, let's go ahead and install a bunch of grab and go services. Now you have a bunch of different stations all throughout the arena. And I just thought that was really cool to keep in mind. They didn't lose sight of trying to do what was best for the fan that walks through the Spectrum Center and get them back to the game that they paid for. I just thought that was a nice presence of mind by the team.
No, that's great. But I think bottom line, and they know this, is that fans care about 2 things. Really, when it comes down to it. And it's not grab and go, and it's not menu items. Season ticket holders care about some of that stuff because they go to so many games that they have an affection towards, where is the Chick-fil-A and where is that bar that I like that serves the beer that I like, right? But the fan that, pays for a couple of games a year or maybe pays for the fancy seats once a year, those fans care about 2 things. How quickly and easily can I get into the building? And does the team have a shot at winning? Does the team have any? Do the Charlotte Hornets? Is it going to be a competitive game? Some people just go to watch LeBron James or Steph Curry. Those people, whatever. But it's like most people, the majority of people, are going to go to a couple of games a year, and they want to know: are the Charlotte Hornets going to field a competitive roster where I'm not going to watch a 30-point blowout and watch the home team get killed? So that's Charles Lee's job. That's LaMelo Ball's job. That's everyone's job. And, hopefully you came away from this podcast thinking, hey, they've got a shot to start to make that happen.
Capitalize on competence. Final thing, Charlotte Hornets height discrepancies. They picked up a little bit, went NBA viral because of the weirdness of it all, where it just felt like the reported heights initially with Hornets Reddit having it, player heights on the NBA site, they were updated on October 16th, and there were some like big time changes. Miles Bridges went from 6'7" to 6'6". The biggest change was Collin Sexton going from 6'3" to 6 feet tall. You lose 3 inches, man. It's a lot. Okay. Sorry, Colin, that you lost all that. But also they updated again, and there were changes after some of the updates. Con Knipple went from 6'5" to 6'4" to 6'6". Diabaté went from 6'9" to 6'10". A couple guys. I look, I'm not sure what's going on here. It doesn't seem that hard. You know that heights have been finagled constantly throughout NBA's history, yet it feels like they're able to agree on one height and just stick with it. And apparently not this year with the Hornets. We're changing everything.
Whose height is it anyway? The heights don't matter. The measurements don't matter. I don't know. Just, I know.
That's good.
I know that LaMelo Ball is taller than what they listed. I know Brandon Miller, they're lying out of their teeth on that one. But again, it's like what you see on the website, that these scouting teams, they know, like the scouting reports that are slipped under their hotel room, they know. They're not taking them from the website. They know how tall these folks are. And so like it's fine. Everything's fine. It's funny. It's fine.
It's also a little maddening. I want it to be right, and I don't know what that says about me. You're right that it's fine. I'm not. My day-to-day
you know what
life
you got to
is not
do.
affected.
You know what you got to get it in that renovated Spectrum Center and use that credential and do one of these numbers.
I do. That's the issue. LaMelo, guys, I'm going to tell you this right now. Hear it from me, okay? I am the one that will give you the official listing. LaMelo is freaking tall. I am 6'6". LaMelo is taller than me. He's 6'7". Brandon Miller is taller than LaMelo Ball. I don't know why we're messing with the height like that. I don't get it. They're legitimately really tall. And I will tell you, for instance, one of the things that made Dwight Howard such an enigma as to how he was able to dominate was that he wasn't 7 feet. He was actually quite short. Doug, I know you were in town for that. I don't know if you remember Dwight Howard walking up to the podium, but Dwight was supposed to be the 7 foot larger than life guy. I was actually kind of close to him. And LaMelo is more towering he's slimmer in a point guard way. Brandon Miller, with you playing on the perimeter, you shouldn't be that tall. Anyways, they're taller than what they're listed. I don't get it. I'm with you.
I don't get it either because who benefits? Because I think like players know, they know relative to if they're matching up with LaMelo Ball. Maybe with the rookies it has some difference because it's the first time you're seeing them. But for LaMelo and Brandon, it's like how tall they are if you have some experience playing against them. And if you're scouting the team, you're not like going to the website, going to Hornets.com to pull up the heights. I think you can look and see. So anyway,
it bothers me.
Weird.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry it bothers me. Let's end it. That'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods. That includes YouTube. Check Doug out. EveryHornetsBoxScore.com is a Substack. Also, go check out Yahoo Sports Daily. He helps produce it. Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me, WFNZ. Every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Sports Radio 92.7 FM. We have one more show to go before we get to opening day. So join us the rest of this week on Locked On Hornets.